I'm Chet with the Morning News Hour. All over Dimsdale, people are buzzing around with bursts of energy. The Sugar Rush Hour traffic is moving at the speed of light. World records were set in all sports, and last night I wrote 5 operas while crowding my bathroom. That's the news.
We've still got 55 minutes left.
And now I'm off to run a marathon.
Chet Holmgren is the prospect we're breaking down one day out from the NBA draft.
Cody's never been more confused in his entire life.
The hell did I just listen to?
You listened to the great Chet a phenomenal broadcaster, newsman from the show Fairly Odd Parents. He's the only other Chet I've ever heard of until Chet Holmgren became a thing in college basketball this past season.
Did you ever watch the Fairly Odd Parents, Cody?
No, I did not.
Well, after your time.
Good grief.
Yeah, there are a lot of people very confused right now.
But there are some that probably loved it.
This is from a cartoon?
It's from the cartoon, The Fairly Odd Parents.
Jake, I loved it, so I appreciate you putting that together.
BK, thank you.
Does he look like Chet Holmgren?
He does not, no.
Okay.
But in fairness, how many people look like Chet Holmgren? He's one of the most uniquely looking athletes you're going to find regardless of sport.
Uniquely looking, eh? Can I get a side-by-side of this cartoon and Chet Holmgren?
Yeah, it would be tough for Chet and Chet Holmgren to look alike because one of the dudes is animated and the other guy's a real guy. So here's Chet Holmgren. There's Chet
One more time.
This is great radio because everyone can clearly see what we're doing in
I don't see the resemblance.
How about an actual Chet highlight, Cody, to really fire you up?
Yeah, of all the millions of times he did something amazing in college basketball, we pick a cartoon rejoin.
Well, in fairness, how many Chets do you know? There's Chet Hanks, Chet and there's Chet Holmgren.
I don't know who Chet is, so I guess I know 2, Hanks and Holmgren.
Well, this guy could be a rocket tomorrow night.
Big fella rolling in, but it's Holmgren with another stop. But defensively, he has been the man. Look at that move!
Come on, America!
You want to guess he was doing color for that game on ESPN this year?
Come on, America.
Come on, America. How about that?
Man.
Dickie V, baby. Well, Chet Holmgren started at Gonzaga, a one-and-done guy. All right, by the way, born May 1st, 2002. That's crazy to see on a screen, and this guy could be potentially the first pick in the draft tomorrow night.
He's one of the older one-and-dones, by the way, in this year's class, so we're getting old, buddy.
Wild. 7 foot, 194 pounds is what he's listed at.
That's a lie.
He doesn't look like he's even 194 pounds, but this guy's one of the more unique prospects we've had because, I mean, if you watched him play, he does not look like your traditional big man, but here he is, a guy that is obviously incredibly versatile. They love his defensive game. He's a great rim protector option. The question is, does his body translate to the NBA level? And that's honestly the only knock you have on Chet as a prospect because everything else really checks out. We'll get to what Jay Bilas said about him in a moment, but BK, this guy was one of the best players in the sport this past year.
This is the most excited I've been about an NBA draft prospect probably since Luka Doncic. And Lucas was because, well, he was so successful overseas. Could that translate to success in the NBA? It obviously did. Chet Holmgren is intriguing because of his size and skill set. I don't know how many people in the history of the world have been that size and that good at basketball. And Kevin O'Connor, who's one of the best NBA draft guys out there, he works for The Ringer, he had a very good brief description of Chet Holmgren that I think is the perfect way to describe him. He's a massive shot blocker with guard-like skills on offense as a passer and shooter, but he needs to get significantly stronger to become the next great big. That's a perfect description of what this guy is. He's an incredible shot blocker. He's massive. He's 7'1". His wingspan's bigger than that. He's a ridiculous shot blocker, and he's got incredible coordination too, Cody, for a guy his size. He's like the anti-Sean Bradley. And sometimes you get over 7 feet and your body just doesn't move the right way and you just look weird and awkward and stiff out there. Chet Holmgren doesn't have that at all. He's actually a really, really good athlete. Not just for a guy his size, but like a really good athlete in general. He's incredibly coordinated too. His skill set on offense is ridiculous. He's got guard-like tendencies on that side of the ball. There is so much potential with this guy, but man, it sure as hell feels like he's going to need to put on at least a few LBs to really maximize that potential.
If this guy was 30 pounds heavier, we'd be talking about who's going number 2 and who's going number 3, and it wouldn't be a big conversation. That'd be what is going to happen. That'd be the top of the draft. It'd be Chet, and then who's 2, who's 3. But the body and just the projection that you have to put together for a guy like that is really tough for these evaluators. And you watch the game, and he does the little things well. He does things that most guys don't do well from a defensive standpoint, and he fits into a variety of different pieces of both the offensive and defensive scheme of a game. So the versatility is there. I don't know what position he's going to play in the NBA. I don't know if he's a center that can shoot. I don't know if he's a power forward. I don't know what the position is, but here's what I'll say. The NBA is sometimes positionless. Yep. Sometimes it's just matchup basketball, and you put the 5 best guys on the floor, and you just make sure that you can match up with the other team and hope that they can't match up with you. Chet's the type of guy that presents a tremendous matchup problem. And when you listen to people who are, hardcore draft analysts, they talk about like, man, there are so many little things he does right away on the defensive side of the ball that could drastically improve a team. And I think about how bad the Rockets were on defense, and I'm like, man, this is an intriguing guy if he ends up for the Rockets available to draft him.
I don't think he's there at 3, but if he is, I say you take him. You roll the dice on a guy that has this type of upside. Just listen to Jay Bilas. He joined us yesterday. He'll be on the draft coverage for ESPN tomorrow night. This was Jay Bilas breaking down Chet and who he projects to potentially be.
Well, it's probably, and I don't say this lightly, it's probably like the projection for Giannis, because that's what Chet Holmgren is. He's like a baby Giannis. And, for my old school Neanderthal brain, the thing I've had to get over is his body. His body reminds me of Sean Bradley when he came out of BYU. It doesn't look like an NBA body, but it is. He is tough and competitive, but he's got Giannis-like skills. He shoots 40% from 3. He can grab a rebound and bring it up, not only like a guard, he basically is a 7-foot guard, and handles the ball extraordinarily well and can get ahead of steam and then spin and finish with his right or his left hand, dunking it. And he blocks a ton of shots. And, the easy thing to say is, yeah, he played at Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference and all that. But he played really well in the biggest games of the year, whether it's USA basketball. You talk to any of his USA basketball teammates, and they'll tell you what people have seen of him is not the best he has. Like, he's better than he showed at Gonzaga.
Baby Giannis is what Jay Bilas called him there. If the Rockets somehow, through the luck of the draft gods tomorrow night, could take this guy at number 3, no hesitation. I say you run up the card, you do it.
BK, how does he get to 3? What would have to happen for Chet Holmgren to be available for the Rockets to draft him?
Well, look, Paolo Banchero is really good, and so is Jabari Smith. I think Jabari's going number 1, but Oklahoma City might fall in love with Paolo Banchero, who, look, Jay Bilas talked about him yesterday. There was a large portion of the college basketball season where Banchero was thought to be 1-1. So it wouldn't be that big of an upset if Banchero went 2 and Chet was there at 3. And I heard Joel talking about this earlier. There are some medical concerns with Chet Holmgren. He's not sending out all of the medical information that teams are asking from him. And every other draft prospect is sending out all of the medicals that teams are looking for. Chet's not doing that. So nothing's known at this point. Maybe there's nothing there, but there's some rumblings like, okay, is there something going on with this guy that we don't know about yet? Is there something going on with this guy that's going to prevent him from being able to play, number 1, and number 2, being able to maximize his skill set and really be worthy of a top 3 pick? So if Oklahoma City at 2 is a little turned off by the lack of medical information they have on Chet, and maybe they go Banchero there too, which would make Chet an option at 3 for the Rockets.
I wonder if there's like 2 divergent paths in the way the Rockets can operate coming out of this draft based on which of the top 3 guys is there at 3. If it's Banchero, it feels like, okay, let's accelerate this thing. Let's improve as much as we can this year. Maybe we can push. If everybody improves and plays well enough, maybe we can push for one of those play-in spots. But let's accelerate things, and let's see exactly what we've got and try to grow as much as possible and improve the win-loss record as much as possible, where it feels like a Chet selection almost goes down a slightly different path where the win-loss record maybe doesn't matter as much. The improvement of Jalen Green in year 2, the improvement of Holmgren from the beginning of the year through the end of the year, Alperen Şengün's improvement, those are more prioritized, and the win-loss record is less important. Whereas if you add Banchero, and look, we've read this from a draft scouting standpoint a ton, Banchero is the NBA-ready guy amongst those top 3 guys. Well, if he's the NBA-ready guy and he can affect the game the most from day 1, then you have higher expectations for the performance of the team. But you got to be ready to go down both those paths, because I don't know that if you swap the guys, you would say that you'd go down that different path with the different guys. Like if Banchero's ready to roll, You want to see some significant improvement. Whatever significant is in your book, they're not making the playoffs, but you could see some win-loss improvement to a large degree with Banchero. I don't know if you can immediately see that with Holmgren if he's the guy.
There's some thought from Rockets fans, oh, this team can't afford to draft a project. That's nonsense. You absolutely can afford to draft a project. You're in full rebuild mode. You got rid of Christian Wood. You got no one on this team making a lot of money besides John Wall, who you're trying to move. You're trying to rebuild this franchise up from the ground. I mean, you're stripping it down. You're the worst record. You had the worst record in the league for 2 straight years. You absolutely could take a swing on a prospect or a project like Chet Holmgren if he's there.
It's going to be fascinating to watch Chet. And look, even if Chet is only a 15-point-per-game guy at the next level, and you want more than that picking in the top 3, he's still going to get you 10 boards, 5 assists, and 4 blocks a night. Like, he's going to impact the game in so many different ways. And look, this is not a trait that gets you drafted in the top 3, but one of the things that I really loved from Holmgren last year at Gonzaga, he was willing to play his role. Guys, he was the number 1 recruit in the country 2 years ago, okay? Those guys have egos, right? Athletes who are that good have egos. They want the ball. They want the game to revolve around them. Chet Holmgren didn't do that. He knew that Drew Timme was Gonzaga's best player. He was comfortable running the offense through Drew Timme and doing whatever it possibly took to make Gonzaga win games. That's a pretty mature thing to see. That's something you don't always see with guys like that. So talking about Jalen Green, like we know Jalen Green's the guy. Like he's the guy who's going to have the ball in his hands. I don't think you're going to have to worry about Chet Holmgren like being selfish and being like, I need the ball more. This has to go through me. I think he's going to be willing to do whatever his team asks him to do. That's a pretty cool thing that you don't always get from guys expected to be drafted this high.
Not only that, the offense that they would do when it ran through Timme is not something you do at the NBA level. It's not dump it down to the block and let the big man work and play off of it. That's not how the NBA works anymore. 30 years ago it was, but that's not how it works, and that's what Gonzaga do a lot. Hey, let's dump it down to Timme. Everybody works off of him. Holmgren fit into that. He'll fit into a little bit of this get up and down, play some defense, get some shots. Jalen Green takes care of the ball primarily, and hey, let's score a bunch of points and try to win some games.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button down below, and of course, subscribe to my channel. And if you're a Houston sports fan, listen to ESPN Houston 97.5 FM or 92.5 FM weekdays from 3 to 7 every afternoon.